If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Today we are continuing on with our Laravel e-commerce series, and we are at the point now where we have an entire checkout system set up. We have invoices available. Right now we want to send confirmation emails with the invoices to our customers. And for me, I'm going to be using Mailtrap to handle our development emails. If you've never heard of it before, Mailtrap is a really good website where you can just go ahead and test your emails. It's perfect for development. Nothing gets sent, nothing gets put anywhere else. It just stays within this one sort of small environment. Now, the max size for this is 50, which means you can send or receive 50 emails. That doesn't mean that you have to upgrade after that. All that means is that once you get up to 50, you've maxed it, just start deleting some, and however many you delete will be however many are subtracted from that 50. So it's really simple. To set this up, we're going to go to my inbox. And right in this section right here, it has different integrations for different frameworks that you're using. For us, we're going to be using Laravel. So here are our credentials, and all we need to do is just go ahead and copy this, and then head into the text editor. Now here we can go ahead to our .env file and head down to where we're displaying our email. And as you can see here, it has some default information. With the new installations of Laravel, they set it up as default for you to use MailHog. MailHog is sort of the little brother for Mailtrap, where it's mainly for Docker. I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to be using Mailtrap. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in my credentials right here. As you can see, we also have a mail from address and a mail from name. This mail from address, instead of it being null, I want to put contact@codersshop.com, and that'll be from our account. The mail from name is just the app name, and that's coming in from our app name up here, our Coder shop, or whatever you named your shop. So now that we have that set up, let's head back to Mailtrap. So in here, if you ever need to reset your credentials, you would just click this button right here, this reset credentials. It would just change up your credentials right here. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing after I finish filming this episode, but that's what you would want to click if you wanted to reset them. Fantastic. Now over in the Laravel documentation, we are under the Mail tab. Laravel mailables are just a really easy interface to use to set up some kind of mailing system for your projects. Also, it makes it really easy if you wanted to use, let's say, Google, your Gmail account, or anything like that. The mailables makes it really easy. It handles pretty much everything. As you can see, it uses different drivers. You can configure the sender, the view, data, attachments. This is something that we'll be working on. There are markdown mailables where they generate a page that will be sent as your template for your mail, and they just have different ways of doing it. For us, we're going to be using the markdown mailables. Now these markdown mailables, they generate a markdown for us. So this markdown equals emails.orders.shipped. It means it will be in the emails folder, in an orders folder, and in a shipped folder. And that's pretty much what we're going to use to set it up. So why don't we go ahead and get this in? So if we go to the terminal, we can do PHP artisan make mail. This we're going to call order received. And for our markdown, we're going to say it's going to be in the emails folder, in the orders folder, and the received folder. And let me make sure I spell this received correctly. We'll go ahead and let that run. Fantastic. So let's go and see what that created for us. The first thing is in our resources, views, emails, and let me move this over so you can see it. It says orders, then there's a receive.blade.php. As you can see, it's in the format of Markdown, where we are using components to pull in a message. There's an introduction. This is just the default information. There's a button from another component, then it's thanks, and then the config.appname, which for us is Coder shop. The next thing that it made for us was this mail folder. In the mail folder, we have a page called order received.php. If you head up, you see that it's using queuable, or we could use queuables here. There's also serialized models with a construct method, and this is where you build your page that's going to be injected into the default Blade file. You can close that, and that's pretty much it. Now for us, we're going to keep this really simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the checkout controller. And if we head down to the store function, right under this for each, okay, where we're displaying the cart items and we are attaching them to the cart. We'll just shrink this down a little bit. Under here, I want to create a variable. I'm going to call it user invoice, and I'm going to say it's auth user or the author billing email. Basically, we just want to get some kind of email. So either it's coming from the order or it's coming from the auth user. It's coming from an order if it's not an auth user. So then we can do mail, make sure to import that. And then we want to do to. We're going to put in that user invoice. And then we're going to send new order received. And for now, that's good. I just want to make sure that we get this email. So let's make sure that that order received is also imported, order received, and the mail facade. Fantastic. Now let's see if we can get this email to work. So right now I have a user who's logged in. We have 3 items in our cart and we want to check out. Everything is filled out. We have the name on the card. We have our credit card number, pay now, and then we'll let it go through. We've been sent to the confirmation page, which means that it should have gone through. Let's check our mail trap. So as you can see, the title of our email is order received. Again, that is something that's customizable. Based on how you name the mailable will be how this title is entered. You can also customize this. Just take a look at the documentation. But as you can see, we have it from Coder Shop. That's the name of our application. And then we have our email that we put in, contact@codershop.com. And this is the name of the user that's authenticated, as well as the email from that user. And if you scroll down a little bit, you see that this is what was coming from that default page that we have for the mailable. We haven't changed anything in here yet, but we do have our project name here. And if you go down, you see that it's Coder Shop. There's a little copyright on there, all rights reserved. Fantastic. Now, there are a couple of different ways that we can attach this PDF to the email. But if you watch the previous episode where we set up Laravel-Invoices, you know that we have a service for it. And it's called Invoice Service, where this is creating the entire PDF file for us. So we can use all of this information in the controller now. So the first thing we need to do is right in the function, we can add right to the end of this, Invoice Service, and we'll call it Invoice Service. Okay, let's make sure it was imported up top, and here it is. So now we can use that method. Remember, we have a create invoice function right in here. So we have mail to user invoice, send order received. First thing that we can pass is the order. And not only do we want to pass in the order, we also want to pass in the products, because this is something that we're getting from the setup that we did with Laravel-Invoices. So we do need our products in this PDF. Then we're going to come out of the first closing parentheses tag, and then we're going to use that invoice service. We're going to use that create invoice function, and in here we're going to pass in our order. Now, 2 things that this mailable will need is the invoice itself, as well as the order. This is the information that we'll need not only for the blade file, but also for the attachment that we're going to be sending with the email. So go back to that order received, and right under our traits here, we're going to add 2 public properties. The first will be order, and the next will be invoice. And again, that's coming from the controller now. For our construct, we can do order and invoice. Now that we have that, we can say this invoice equals invoice, and then we'll do order, So now that we have the properties available to the entire page, we can come down to this build function, and where we're displaying the markdown, we can pass in the order. And after this return, we can do attach data. We're going to pass in this invoice. We're going to make it stream. Get rid of this. And we want to get the contents from that PDF. And then we want to name the PDF. So for my project, it's going to be Coders Shop. This is the name that we're using for all of our invoices. Again, we did this with the Laravel-Invoices when we were setting that up. This was just how we formatted the file names for those PDFs. And so we also need this order confirmation. And then to finish it off, we're going to do .pdf. And then at the very end, we want a MIME file type. And here we're just going to say application PDF. That should be good. And this order information, we can go ahead, bring it to the front end and basically use whatever is in that property. So we'll go to the receive blade. And if you take a look, this hashtag, for example, is a style format for markdowns. And that's not necessarily a Laravel thing, but Laravel uses markdown styling for these pages. There's more information on it in the documentation. I just wanted to put that out there so that's something that you can take a look at. Also, there's a way to publish the assets so that you can customize these different components. So the button, the message, the URL, different things, you can customize through that. I would take a look at the documentation again. I'm just giving you the broad strokes, but there's way more information in there than I'm giving you right now. We're going to take out this introduction and we're going to say you just purchased our swag. Open up some curly brackets and we are going to add our order. And from the order, we're going to need the billing name, because remember, this is going to be for all users, whether they're authenticated or not, and all of them will have a billing name. So we can get rid of this body, 2 hashtags, and then we're going to say we've attached the invoice to this email. And we're going to add a line break. Okay, so mail button, a URL, we're just going to send them back to the route dashboard. So if they're not authenticated, then they'll be encouraged to create an account. Button text will be view dashboard. So thanks, config app name, and we should be good. Let's go test all of this out. Now, since we haven't actually removed any items from the cart or anything like that, let's go ahead and just refresh this page and then just refill it out. Okay, and it looks like we might have an error. Let's open up our inspect tools. We'll go to the network tab and let's try this again. Okay, let's take a look and see what that says. Get contents. Okay. That's because in our order received, this should just be get content. Okay, let's try it again. For this, we can just get rid of a number. Pay now. It looks like it went through just fine. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's check our mail. There it is. Okay, you've just purchased our swag, Jillian Williams. We've attached the invoice to this email. And now if we come up here and click that, you see we have Coder Shop. This is the confirmation number .pdf. You can open it up and now you can go ahead and download it to any part of your computer that you want to open. We'll do it to the desktop. Then we can open it up. Here's the invoice with all of our information. Fantastic. The other thing is that if we go to the dashboard, we go to orders. Because we are authenticated, we can also access this from the back end and have the same thing. The only difference is that this is coming from our app and the email is coming from the file name where you can store it anywhere you want. Let's also check for a user that is not authenticated. Now, if we go ahead and add some items to our cart, check out as a guest, big filler. Okay, it looks like we have an error. Let's check our inspect. Let's try the number again, pay now, and check out. Okay, so here's our error. It's saying that it can't attempt to read the property email on null. And that's because in our invoice service, if we take a look right here, we are using the email from the order user email. But what we want to do is, considering we're using this whether a user is authenticated or not, we can't quite just use the user email. So instead, from the order, we have the billing email. Now let's try it and hopefully that should work. Now from here, we don't have to refill everything. Just go ahead and change that last digit. Pay now. Okay, that went through. As you can see, we are at our confirmation page. So let's go ahead and check the email. This is the email from that user. That's the name that we have in there. We also have our attachment. Again, we can go ahead and click that. Save it to the desktop. Open it up, and there's our email. Fantastic. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. I'm going to leave links in the description, including the playlist, so that you can catch up on all of the videos in this Laravel e-commerce series. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.